Hey folks, really quick, I wanted to make a short video about something that's been happening here in the last 24 hours, and I think it highlights these two experiences highlight the difference between good policing and bad policing, or good cops and bad cops, or good law enforcement and bad law enforcement, because they are such a juxtaposition that I couldn't help that after I had this conversation I just had, but compare it to a previous conversation I had. So today I called, well, let me back up. So with Olmos Park, I've been filing open records requests, trying to lay the groundwork for some other things that are coming up with regards to Olmos Park. And other people have been filing open records requests for the city as well. And so, hi, baby.
Can I say that when he just said, let me back this up, that this isn't going to be real quick?
You threw off my groove. Anyway, so we have been filing these open records requests trying to get information from the city about how they handle basically activists, protesters, people who are exercising their rights, but also for general accountability purposes. And so one of the things that I asked for recently was some records, some public records on how many times Olmos Park Police Department has arrested somebody for, and for the police reports that go along with it, for obstruction of a roadway, interference with the duties of a peace officer, assault on a peace officer, disorderly conduct, and I think there was another one I can't quite remember off the top of my head. And then I also asked for records over the last 10, and that was over the last 5 years, and I also asked for records over the last 10 years of how many times has Olmos Park Police Department deployed tasers or other use of force instruments. So I didn't just limit it to just tasers, because, you know, Olmos Park would be like, oh, we don't use tasers, and they'd call it something else. Well, I got a response back that, oh, we don't have any records that are responsive to your request. Well, I happen to know of at least one person who was tased in Olmos Park. I happen to know of at least one person who was arrested for interference with the duties of a peace officer. I know one person who was arrested for assault on a public servant. I know at least one person who was arrested for interference, or interference with the duties of peace. And so I know for a fact there's at least one record out there, mine. And yet they come back and said that no such record exists. So I got with some of the other people who have been filing open records requests, because I've had enough of this. And actually before I did that, I decided to call the city and get to the bottom of this, because this is not good. That the city they're not saying, no, we want to withhold this information, and here's the exemption that we're withholding it under. No, they want to say that no such records exist. There's two problems with that. One is that they're lying and they're violating the Open Records Act, or two, the city's not doing their job and maintaining records in accordance with the government code either. So I called the city secretary and I didn't get an answer, and I decided to call the police chief, because he's the one that a lot of these records would come from, because they're police reports. So I called the Olmos Park police chief about this open records request, and I'll probably have that phone call up at some time in the future. I'm not going to put it up right now. But the gist of the phone call is, I have nothing to say to you, and he hung up on me. He refused to answer any questions about, all I asked was, have you seen my open records request? That's it. I just wanted to know if he'd seen it.
He said no comment.
He said no comment, and he kept saying no comment. I said, Chief, I'm just asking you if you've seen this open records request. No comment. I have nothing further to say to you, and he hung up on me. Well, on the way home today, I got another phone call from the police chief in Bastrop. I had filed an open records request with the chief in Bastrop about open carry policies and as well as the city council about the police department's policy towards open carriers, any training they've received, as well as uh, some questions about the law and whether or not they were enforcing an ordinance that they had on the books that violated state law. Well, I got a call back from the chief himself today, not even 30 minutes ago. And we had a great conversation, and he was extremely upfront. He says, Mr. Grisham, we got your open records request. First of all, I'll tell you, and he says, first of all, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We had no idea this was on the books. I can assure you that we don't enforce that ordinance. But now that we know that it's there, I am going to personally craft a response to the city council to get this ordinance removed and make sure that we are in compliance with state law. And he says, we don't have any issues with open carry, and we actually don't have a policy on how to handle open carry, although it hasn't been an issue. I did tell him that all of our members in Bastrop have said they haven't had any issues with open carry at all. And so I wasn't complaining about whether or not the department had issues, because our members from Open Carry Texas have said that they don't have any issues. But the fact that this police chief was so open, and he says, I'm going to personally handle this. Normally, our open records custodian handles this one, but I want you to know I'm going to personally handle this. As soon as I've got all the documents together, I'll get it out to you. If I can't find something or something doesn't exist, I'll personally call you and let you know that it doesn't exist, and that way keep you in the loop. But those are two police chiefs, Olmos Park and Bastrop. The request was somewhat similar. I mean, the specifics were different, but the requests were somewhat similar because it had to do with gun rights and open carry and police responses to open carry. But yet, Olmos Park police chief won't even talk to me. He won't talk to any of us. I talked to some of the other activists who have done, and other people who have filed open records requests through Olmos Park, and they've said the exact same thing, that the city keeps coming back saying we have 0 records responsive to your request, knowing what we know, that there are records. And one person even filed an open records request, get this, with Olmos Park, because they were saying there were no records responsive to our arrests. What he did was he filed another open records request, and he narrowed it down. He says, I would like every police report filed that is public record on the 26th, 27th, and 28th of March. Every police report filed for those 3 days. That's what we want. Olmos Park sent back the response to this request saying, we have no records responsive to your request. So Olmos Park is literally violating the Open Records Act, or they're violating the law by not keeping records of arrests, because we all know at least 2 people who were arrested on March 27th, right, Jim? So then I get this on the same day. It just so happens that I get this phone call from the Bastrop police chief, and he is incredibly transparent, incredibly helpful, incredibly understanding of what our rights are, what his authority is. He understands the open records law, and he's willing, he's going out of his way to personally handle this open records request. That speaks volumes. That is the difference between a good cop and a bad cop right there. I want to give kudos to Bastrop Police Department Chief and their department, because, like I said, I haven't been to Bastrop. I've been to Bastrop, but I've never had any issues in Bastrop. I don't go there a lot, obviously. But nobody has said they've had issues with open carry or any gun rights stuff. But what we've asked our people to do is go through your codes, your ordinances in your cities all around the state, and look for these ordinances that are outdated, that make it illegal to carry a firearm in public or into a building or into a city car or something like that, and let us know so that we can contact these cities. And that's what we did with Bastrop. We contacted them and we let them know that their ordinance was illegal, the same way we did with Olmos Park before we had our incident. I contacted the city 2 weeks prior to my arrest about their illegal ordinance, and Almost Park ignored us. They completely ignored us. They pretended we didn't exist, and look what happened, and look where we are today. So that's the difference. Kudos to Bastrop. Almost Park, you just keep digging your hole. Just keep digging your hole. So, all right.
I want to say something.
Oh, hang on.
Okay.
My beautiful wife wants to say something.
Anyway, so there was a guy on, I think it was after Jack's last arrest, I think, and he was on one of the threads, and he's like, well, this is what you guys need to do, and file a FOIA for this and open records request for that. And someone who has the know-how to file the open records request, and he said, well, why don't you do it? And he's like, well, am I going to get a cut of the lawsuit? Well, hi. Am I going to get a cut of the lawsuit, sue their butts or whatever? And here's the point of all the FOIAs and the open records requests is that, no, if it becomes a lawsuit with these agencies that are getting all these FOIAs and stuff like that, is that for the most part, no one's going to see any type of money coming from them or anything like that. The point of the open record requests is exposing the corruption that is going on with all these different places. If they don't release the information, I guess is what I'm looking for. And so if you guys understand the how many places that we have requested, not we as in CJ and I, but the people that are in this collective group of constantly getting this information. And so so we could use some help of people requesting this information and sending in their FOIAs and stuff like that, the Open Records Request Act. And you're not going to see anything from it other than just the information that you get from those people once they release it to you. It's not a money-making scheme or anything like that. It's just helping other people out and trying to expose government corruption, basically, is all it is. That's all you get out of it.
Because even though right now we're fighting, these are things that we're fighting, the things that we're fighting affect everybody. Mm-hmm. And so just because we were personally affected and there may be civil litigation as a result of all this, it still affects everybody. That civil litigation, whether somebody gets money out of it or not, is going to affect everyone. Yeah. Because it's going to put them on notice. And she brings up a good point. One of the things that y'all need to do, because I think one of the reasons that Almost Park believes they don't have to respond to me and they don't have to respond to some of the other people that have been falsely arrested is because of litigation and lawsuits and stuff like that. So what you need to do as a citizen is also put them on record. And what I would ask you to do is also file an open records request. Ask them for police reports from Almost Park Police Department that any arrests that have to do with over the last 5 years, you got to put a time frame on it or else they're going to screw with you. But give us a specific time frame from today's date until 5 years ago today's date. So June 8th, 2013 to June 8th, 2015 or 2018. And ask for any and all police reports and instances where somebody was arrested for disorderly conduct, for obstruction of a roadway, interference with the duties of a peace officer. Did I say disorderly conduct? I think I did. And
there are people that can always guide you within the wordage of what needs to be said or what needs to be asked for. Not always CJ, obviously, but there are
people that can help you craft that.
Yeah, that will help you.
And if you're not connected to our cases, there's no reason for them not to provide you with this information.
There's no reason for them not to provide us with that information either.
Right. But there's even less of a reason if you ask for that.
And we're not talking just with the Almost Park incident. We're talking anytime a town or a city. I mean, look what. I don't know if I should just use their names or not, but like in Waco, I'll use Waco because that's where one of our friends, the most in McLennan County, he gets tons of information on them anyhow with their courthouse and what goes on there. And it's not just these high cases, it's just trying to expose these government entities that are just doing whatever they think they want and getting away with it, and just anyhow. So if you guys know of corrupt officials like that and you just want to get information on them and find out what public information you can gather on them, then just submit the FOIA.
And we do need to fix our FOIA or our Open Records Act laws, because there's absolutely zero accountability.
Yeah.
If a government official like Olmos Park Police Chief and the city secretary and the city manager and the city council, the way that they're hiding all these public records and pretending that they don't exist and literally filing false official statements by sending back reports saying, oh, what you're asking for doesn't exist, when I know damn well it does, because I was there.
Well, frankly, we've already seen it.
And I've already seen the reports, so I know they exist. And the fact that there is not a criminal offense in the Open Records Act for keeping that stuff out of our hands is wrong. And so I'm going to fight next session while I'm down there fighting for gun rights. I'm going to fight next session to fix our Open Records Request Act as well.
This is another live video that we're going to have too about people fighting at the next session, because if he's in law school, you guys,
that's true,
he won't be there.
Yeah. So people are going to have to stand up and take that fight. But
yeah,
I'm willing to help however I can. But anyway, I wanted to make that quick video about in one day, I spoke to 2 different police chiefs and had 2 completely different outcomes and responses on open records issues. And I think it speaks volumes about both of them, one good and one bad. So God bless y'all. Take care. Thanks for watching my bloviation. Take care and God bless.